So you want to know if lane Viego is viable. Hi there, I'm Wick, GM peak Viego lane player with over 1.2 million mastery points on the champion. If you're looking for a quick answer, lane Viego is playable. I'm extremely hard pressed to call it good, and it's definitely not great, but it is playable. It is much better mid than top lane for reasons I will get into later, but essentially if you, like me, love Viego but hate jungle, you can play him in lane. It'll be a lot more work than other champions, it will be much more punishing than other champions, but if you truly love the champion, go for it. So why does lane Viego struggle? This pick used to be so good that pros played it non-stop, and now less than 2% of Viego's games a patch are played in lane. Well, this is largely due to the fact that Riot picked up a bat, broke both of Viego's kneecaps, and then proceeded to cave in his skull. I am of course talking about the many nerfs Viego has gotten, many of which just affect his lane. The most obvious, of course, is the lane sustain. Viego used to have 150% heal on minions, which was quickly reduced to 100%, then nerfed to 50%, and finally, the one that we have today, 10%. You essentially used to have a free Vamp Scepter level 1, and now you have nothing. In addition, Viego's Q used to be a potent poke and trade tool in early laning. Viego's Q base damage was then nerfed by 10, so now when you Q people, if they have Second Wind and D-Shield, they probably healed more than the damage you did. Finally, and the one that people who watch my stream hear about all too much, 225. 225 was Viego's old auto range, it's now 200. You might be thinking, 200 is still pretty good, and technically you're right, 200 is still quite large. However, with the tools Viego has, it's, in my opinion, not enough. Viego's combos don't work, trades are now worse as you can't get in another auto or two, last hitting is way less safe, spacing is harder / impossible depending on the character, and running down ranged characters in lane is either painful or downright not doable. It's just awful. Lane Viego without the extra 25 range can be incredibly frustrating. All of these nerfs combined have left Viego with almost no winning matchups, and there is little room for error in lane, causing many people who love Viego to flee to the jungle. Not me. So why play lane Viego, you might ask? Why play something so frustrating? Simple. Viego is cool. He's the coolest. He is the coolest character in League of Legends. He has the best voice acting. He's very satisfying to play outside of his auto range. However, jungle is the most boring role in League of Legends. When I queue up to play League, I want to drag little Timmy's face through the dirt multiple times. I want to separate his head from his body using my Blade of the Ruined King. I want to liquidate it into a fine little liquid. I do not want to hit Gromp. Not Gromp. If you like jungling as Viego, that's great. I wish I liked it, but I just simply never liked jungling. So how do you play lane Viego? While this video isn't going to be completely in depth, I will give a quick start guide on playing the champion in lane. Let's start with the setup. This video was made on patch 12.4, so perhaps things have changed by the time you watch this. Maybe they haven't. If you have any questions on if anything has changed, stop by my stream, join my Discord, or leave a comment below and I'll try my best to get back to you. Currently, my runes on Viego are usually Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Tenacity, Last Stand, and then in my other tree I go Resolve, Conditioning, and Unflinching most games. For shards, I go Attack Speed, Adaptive, and Health Shard. I don't have the math, but essentially Health Shard outvalues Armor and MR Shard at level 4 or so. The reason behind Tenacity and Unflinching is that Viego is only as good as the body he can get. If he can't get to a body because he's CC'd, he is not good. You do not need the attack speed Alacrity gives with any build in my opinion, and Bloodline is just not as useful as Tenacity. Tenacity is a broken rune. You might be asking, why Last Stand over Coup de Grace? Isn't Viego's ult an execute? Sure, but I go for 1v2s. I go for level 2 all-ins. If you ever watch me play, I am low health and trying to kill people a lot. If you are a more reserved player, maybe Coup de Grace is for you. Depending on the enemy team comp, you can go PTA over Conqueror, but only if they have a full team of one-shottable squishies. If there's anyone you think Conqueror will end up being more useful against in a long trade, personally, I'd take Conqueror with how quickly you can stack it. The reasoning why we go Conditioning is because, like I said earlier, Tenacity is broken. It's one of the most broken runes in the game. However, there are some matchups, and if you're new to the champ, you can go Second Wind. I don't like Bone Plating, I think it's too easily negated. Now for the question everyone asks, the build. Before I say my build, let me give my quick speech on Viego's builds. Viego is a champion whose builds and runes ultimately do not matter all that much. As I said before, you are only as good as your body. Whatever runes or items get you to that body, you should take. Essentially, I build full damage. I go Bork into Kraken 99.9% of my games. Why is that, you might ask? Is it his best build every game? Absolutely not. There are plenty of games where this isn't his best build, but it is my best build. It is what I feel comfortable with. I am not a Divine Sunder or Sterix Gauge Viego player. I cannot sit back and twiddle my thumbs walking around a fight doing nothing. I am a cold-blooded serial killer ready to pounce out of the mist with a fully charged Spectral Maw directly onto the enemy carry to eviscerate their life and have their teammates scream out in horror as they watch the lifeblood drain away from their fed Samira, and I proceed to possess her body and steamroll the entire enemy team as they flee in horror. But that's just me. Maybe you like Divine Sunder, that's cool too. No matter what, as of patch 12.4, I highly recommend starting Blade of the Ruined King every game, for sure in lane, but even in jungle, I think it should be considered mandatory. This item's synergy with Viego shouldn't even need to be stated, it's his blade, man. The buff they gave it is disgusting. I would not be surprised if this item got a nerf in the future. You will actually rip and tear everything in your path. Now, for another common question, should I play Viego mid or Viego top? Viego mid is, in my opinion, better than Viego top. That doesn't mean that top Viego isn't playable. In fact, my good friend Kaiser Mord, who you may or may not know, plays a lot of Viego top, peaking around 1000 LP, challenger with it in Season 11. However, he will also tell you Viego top is just not that good, and most of your leads come from out-farming your opponent. The big difference in the two lanes is just that while mid lane has bad matchups, top lanes are often more horrific. Tryndamere, Jax, Fiora, Camille, Riven, and Irelia are just some of the matchups that you can come to face that will absolutely obliterate you and show little to no counterplay for Viego. The way I like to describe Viego top is it's a lane where if the enemy laner makes one mistake, you get a free Q for 30 damage. If you make one mistake, you will die and get killed on repeat the entire rest of the game. There just isn't a whole lot of proactive playmaking that can be made from top lane. You largely get your lead incrementally through better wave management. That's how Kaiser Mord makes it work. He's an even higher rank than me, but he's just that good at making incremental leads. My issue is, I'm a psychotic murderer who likes blood, which is why I prefer mid lane. Mid lane offers more playmaking in the sense that not only are mid's matchups often more bearable and killable, if they aren't, you can just leave the lane and roam to some champion that is. Roaming from mid lane is much easier than top, and oftentimes in my games, I legitimately just get so bored I go into the enemy jungle level 2 and try and kill the jungler. These proactive plays are just way harder to make top lane, which is why I think, in my opinion, mid lane has the edge over the two lanes. Now, how do you play Viego in lane, you might ask? That's kind of a big question that I really don't feel like going into depth right now. Maybe in the future. Essentially do this. 1. Use Wick or Flicker on the opponent. 2. Pray the opponent is not good and doesn't know your damage. 3. Pray you don't get ganked. And that's about all I have to say about the current state of lane Viego in Season 12. If you have any other questions or concerns, feel free to leave a comment below, or for some instant response, stop by my stream at twitch.tv/wick. I stream 6 days a week, every day but Tuesday at 4 PM Mountain Time, and I'm always down to talk about why lane Viego blows. I appreciate you so much for watching, and if you like the content, a like and a sub would go a long way. I love you, I'm proud of you, and I hope to see you in the next video.